to be more conviction integrity units, we first have to admit that the system has a problem. I think that's a level of difficulty that some people can't comprehend. People forget that we're humans, and humans make mistakes.
Busy week for our 11 Investigates team. Lead investigator Brian Duggar joins our Melissa Andrews live in studio. Two big topics: conviction integrity unit here in Toledo and the Gary Johnson corruption trial. Mel?
Dan, I want to start, Brian, with the fact that you were in the Gary Johnson corruption trial all week long, and you've got some ideas about the key evidence. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to basically come down to, Mel, whether they believe that Gary was accepting a bribe or whether it was a campaign contribution like he said. And the key person in this whole thing is this local businessman, Nabil Shaheen. He was working for the FBI. He has several recordings where he's talking to Gary, and it's going to come down to, I think the jury's really going to have to analyze those recordings. And some of them, Gary says, hey, just so you understand, I'm not making this vote because you're giving me a contribution. I'm doing it because it's the right thing. But I also think the jury's going to wonder. At one point, Gary took $2,000, and everybody acknowledges that he just put it in his dresser drawer. And it sat there for 2 months, and I think the jury's going to probably wonder why he did that.
But don't you think that it's incredible too that he's on tape saying, just so you know, this is not going to influence my vote?
Well, I mean, that's certainly interesting, but I think, he was on the stand and he said he wanted to make it clear that, because a couple times, I mean, Nabil was working with the FBI, and the whole goal of this investigation from the FBI was to get council members to take bribes. And so Nabil a couple times said, thanks for helping me out, Gary. Thanks for helping us get this through. And he
Here's
said,
some money.
He said, yeah. And he said, well, look, I'm not doing this because I'm trying to help you out. I'm doing this because it's the right thing.
Interesting. Okay, so what are you thinking the jury is thinking of all this? What are your impressions?
Yeah, there are 10 women and 2 men on the jury. And I watched them quite a bit just to try to get any idea what they might be thinking, particularly when Gary was on the stand. I wanted to see, were they paying close attention or were they just kind of checked out? But they were listening to him, but it wasn't like they were going over the top, like, oh, this is really interesting what this guy is saying. So it is kind of hard to get a read on what they are thinking, but we'll see. I mean, closing statements will be next Monday. And at that point, the jury will probably get instructions from the judge, and they will probably begin deliberating later Monday afternoon, would be my guess.
Okay, so we could see this wrapped up maybe sometime mid to late next week. All right, I want to talk about that conviction integrity unit. You spent so much time on the guilty without proof investigation. Wayne Brady and Carl Willis are now free. You went to Detroit. You did a great story there about how people have been freed as part of a conviction integrity unit there. We don't have one here. I assume that your work on guilty without proof is a reason that you think Lucas County should have one of these units.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've talked to several units over the last couple of years, and Detroit's been highly successful. 36 men have been freed in the past 5 years, and there's no denying the fact that since 1989, 3,400 people across the United States have been exonerated. These weren't people that they just wanted to let out of jail. These were people who were innocent, and we'd be really naive to believe that that isn't happening here in Lucas County. And the one thing you really want the community to trust the criminal justice system, and I can't say to you right now that I believe the people in Toledo trust the community, the criminal justice system.
Well, one thing that I think is interesting, you and I worked on a story together out of Defiance, and we interviewed a defense attorney, and he told us he actually had a client who was accused of rape. He said he did not rape this woman, and that he would rather take a lesser sentence, still not having committed the crime, than go forward with a trial and likely serving 40 or 50 years or something like that. So the problem actually should be addressed even before there's a conviction in some of these cases too, even offering someone a deal when they may not have done it in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see a lot of I think the number's like 97 or 98% of all charges. Eventually, there is some sort of plea bargain involved. Very few of them actually go to trial. And then, you know, as I reported on last week, we're now getting post-conviction plea deals too. So, and a lot of times the people, I mean, the options they're given is like, look, if you're found guilty, you're going to go to
Right.
prison for the rest of your life. So, you know, what do you do in that case?
And that choice, as the man that you interviewed said, that it was like a gun to their head. So real quick, what are the chances you think that we're going to get one of these units?
I think Pete Gherkin is really influential in Lucas County, but I think it's going to come down to Julia Bates. She's been in office since 1997. I don't know, I don't have any inside knowledge of when she's going to retire, but I think this would be a really good capstone to her career and a great legacy moment if she can support this.
Lead investigator Brian Duggar, thanks so much for that 11 Investigates update this week.
Sure.
Dan?